All right, Vimeo people, I hope you have number 4 queued up because we're about to start without you. Everyone else, just enjoy the stream.
There we go.
Here we go, Vimeo. 3, 2, 1, unpause.
Stephen Hayes.
Stephen Hayes.
Now, this is the one where I got an email from these guys, and apparently they're both involved in karate or karate instructors.
Okay.
And apparently one also has some sort of an injury recently.
Okay.
Okay.
Obviously, we can't really let that affect the way the judging goes.
You factor that into performance a little bit, maybe, but
well, yeah. You know, my thing is, you know, from a fighting world perspective, if you show up to a fight, you're going to fight, and it doesn't really matter what's wrong with you.
Right.
So if you show up for it, then you're going to be judged.
I'm going to kill you. Well, my leg hurts. Oh, well, then maybe tomorrow. Tell me how you're. Give me a call. We'll reschedule.
Can't fight the Rebs this season, Ma. Jeb's got a bum knee. You know, it doesn't work that way.
Brian, you getting tired of this intro yet?
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to that earlier point where
tore his knee ligaments.
You know.
Butters, do you know which ligament? Because because I've torn my LCL, and you can actually still perform with that. If you tear an ACL or a meniscus, then maybe you get some swelling. So do you know which ligament he tore?
Yeah. This one actually we're not hearing the music right now, but I think the music actually really does a disservice
the
to
Matrix
this one.
music?
Yeah, because the intensity of the performance does not match the intensity of the music.
ACL,
and putting them together like that just accentuates the fact that it just calls more attention to how
it underlines
that
aspect of it.
Not really as intense the fighting itself is.
Well, with that said, like especially in this, I'm gonna critique this unarmed sequence a little bit. If you have bad ACL, don't throw kicks because these kicks, I'm not buying them. I'm not buying. And yeah, that was okay. Nice little rainbow kick there, but it's I'm not really buying it, and these knees are that's a rough sell, man.
Yeah,
like, those knees are really, really rough sell.
You're to an extent on a number of them, you're picking the right angles, but you're not performing them to sell within the angle, I think.
Right, and that's the thing, and the other thing is that if you're gonna throw a knee, you know, bring the guy's head down and throw the knee so you obscure the point of impact. Right here again on this knee sequence, I'm sorry, this is not very good looking at all.
Because we can see right down the path of how it's not
exactly.
Extremely unflattering angle.
And if you're going to do that angle, then you throw your kicks, then you throw your wheel kicks, then you throw your spin kicks. Throw it at that angle because that will look very good at that angle.
I do like a lot lot of the reverse gags that they're using here.
That was nice in this one coming up that I also thought was well done. The staircase gag.
Yeah, they do some nice bits. You don't see, that's old school Star Wars.
It totally
you don't
is.
see much of that
Of course,
anymore,
I respect that, and it's hard to sell a reverse gag properly, but I thought they did them really well in this one.
Not only that, but right there when he threw that kick that knocked him down, he was in punching range. Don't throw a kick if you are in punching range.
Yeah.
If you're a kick in range, throw a kick. If you're in a punch range, throw a punch. If you're a knee, throw a knee. Like you have to understand range and distance.
There we go.
With what you're doing.
But it seems in a number of these parts, like right here, they seem more concerned about not killing themselves on the stairs than with the choreography of the sabers, which is fine. Don't kill yourself on the stairs,
right.
But
we all had a problem with this next thing here.
Yeah, this bugs me.
Okay, they're lightsabers.
Yeah,
they can go through that.
They can go through that.
Yeah. One of the things about lightsaber choreography is you want to take into account the properties of the lightsaber.
Yeah, some of the best choreography is the stuff that uses sabers in a way that you couldn't use a sword.
Exactly.
Right.
And takes advantage of that and incorporates that into the choreography and into the blocking specifically. The other thing I was going to notice, there are a couple of times during this where it looks like both guys are about to laugh and crack up, and that does affect your choreography. It affects the intensity. It takes me out of the fight. So.
I don't want to seem overly harsh, but the guy with blonde hair occasionally reminds me of Jimmy Fallon in that way.
But
that's more about Jimmy Fallon than you do.
Right.
That's not your fault. Jimmy Fallon invented that.
There are a number of times in other fights where people look like they're about to laugh, and it's fun and silly, and you can tell that they're having fun. But you want to use the take where you're not doing that because otherwise it undermines the intensity and intent of what you're doing.
And if you're doing this to have fun and have a lark, great, that's awesome. But understand that you're entering into a contest in which you are going to be judged and critiqued. So, this stuff here. The problem is that when you're in a hallway like this, especially with lockers, and that's a really bad match. They're obviously the geography changed drastically right there. But if you're in a hallway, understand that it's going to limit the moves that you can do. So I would choose in a long hallway like that. I would choose more vertical movements as opposed to lateral movements because that's just you're going to end up, and unless you want to incorporate that with cutting up the lockers, that's fine. But pick the moves that make the most sense for your angle and your geography.
I'm very disappointed at the lack. I like the slow motion performance. I do. But I'm not being sarcastic. But I was disappointed that you had the flashing strobe light look, and I thought you were going to do something with that stylistically or whatever, but then you just left that environment.
A little drop spin kick thing you did there. Actually,
the sweep was nice, and right here I think we're coming up onto a segment where. See, I don't know what's happening here. Oh, okay, there we go. Now the staff. Now you can see this guy definitely has done some tournament stuff with staff. This reminds me of being in like Ed Parker's Kempo International tournament in the early '90s, where you see kids do a lot of stuff like this. The toothpick staff is what they called it. So this is all nice. I would have, and this guy obviously has some strength in this department. I would have gotten to this part sooner because he actually understands how to manipulate a staff versus a lot of other entrants. I would have gotten to this a little bit sooner, and that roll up was a little forced.
Played more to your strength.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It always felt to me like that, oh, this is what they were trying to get to. This is what they wanted to do with their entry, and then that there was a lot of stuff before it.
There's a lot of padding. And I mean, remember, you don't need to pad. Padding is bad.
Exactly.
Just do what you want to do and do the very essence of that. The idea is to distill something down into the least amount of what you can do to get your point.
And not necessarily in editing, because I can see how you could never do that with this entry, because they're just going everywhere and moving all over the place. But in your choreography, keep it your best stuff.
In the writing phase, I mean, when you write a screenplay, you want to avoid the as you know scenes. You want to avoid the unnecessary exposition. Fighting choreography is much the same way. You want to avoid the unnecessary moves. You want to have a lot of economy of motion. You want to have everything has to have a purpose and should therefore build on the next things you throw. There should be a psychology to it.
Well, your editing should begin with your second draft.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's unclear what's going on here. I think this segment, as opposed to going into the hallway, this segment needed the effects more than that other bit did, because this as I understand it, he's turning off one side and turning on the other and doing stuff. That's why they keep stopping the fight, but it's not really clear without the effects.
Which is really a bummer, because this is probably some of their most sort of elaborate choreography in terms of like they thought about it and like, oh, he turned off this way and go this way. So
a lot of anticipation here too. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just saying it's unfortunate that the effects weren't in it, so we could see the choreography of it.
On that moment where we reveal that it's the double-sided staff, those kind of moments I think is most important to understand the 180 rule, because there was a line cross in that moment, and the 180 when you're breaking it without doing it well, it confuses you as to the geography, and it already makes your brain going, oh, I'm not sure what's going on. So then when you try to have one of those reveals where you're trying to purposefully confuse the audience for a second, you're not doing it well. And you're confusing the audience in a way where your brain goes, I don't understand what's going on, and you get frustrated, as opposed to when you see the reveal, you go, oh, now I see what you did there. You're not confused in a good way, you're confused in a bad way.
There's something to be said for clarity.
Yeah, I mean, clarity is incredibly, incredibly important.
Cool. So, Brian, I guess you were just talking, but in terms of the film and the fight?
I didn't mention, somebody else did, but I did really like the reverse effects. It was very difficult stuff to do, and in general, I like how a lot of people were in this year's contests did practical and tried to use practical elements and practical effects as much as possible. And I thought the reverse in this one was one of the better demonstrations of that.
Cool. Trey, thoughts?
I think, again, I'll hand off the choreography. I can even as a layman, I can see the choreography wasn't entirely successful in this one, but you guys can elaborate on that. Again, I will say that I admire this because it's, again, a lengthy entry, and it took we all know that took a long time to shoot and to choreograph and especially to edit. And a lot of it was, again, far better than beginner level. And it's hard to do. It's hard to do those well, no matter what level you're at. And there was some good stuff in there. I don't want to leave the impression that it was all negative. That there's some very nice moments in there and some good work being done.